So I've been playing a bit of Battlefield 1 recently. I said I wouldn't get it, but I ended up buying it because of a good deal on the Xbox store. I got it for, I think it was a 30% discount the other weekend. So I got it digitally on the Xbox One. And yeah, I got to say I'm actually quite impressed. I think a few of you asked me to play it and perhaps the beta didn't quite give the game justice. So yeah, I decided to go for it. So just going to give a bit of a review really of the game and just show you some just some basic footage of me playing it from the other night. You won't see any particularly great skills or anything. I was just getting to grips with the levels and stuff as I was playing. First thing that struck me though was obviously the immersion, and the graphics are pretty spot on in this game, which is what you'd expect from DICE really nowadays. They always deliver on that front. But I must say, I think they probably have really excelled and outdone themselves really with this game, just in terms of the production values, the sound and the graphics, and that World War One feel in terms of the grits and the mud and the way all your guns are kind of clogged up with just horrible, just general grime and everything you can imagine. You really notice that in particular with the sniper rifle, this one like I've got here, the Lee Enfield with the scope. It's just a nice little effect. Just small touches I always find in games go far. But also just the performance as well, it's really nice, plays very smoothly on the Xbox. I've heard it plays, for some reason it plays better on the Xbox than it does on the PS4 in terms of frame rate. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but to be honest with you, the main reason I got it on the Xbox was because of the deal, the 30% discount deal. And also I actually do prefer the Xbox controller for FPS games if I'm not playing on PC. And I suppose I could have got this on PC, but quite honestly I'm quite happy with playing consoles at the moment because I've got my nice 4K TV and surround sound and things. Sometimes it's just good to play games like this on a console. Plus I don't really know anyone playing it on PC at the moment. But anyway, so yeah, I was pretty blown away by the graphics and the sound in particular. Sound is always just world class when it comes to DICE. They always deliver on that front. And the multiplayer seems really good from what I've seen so far. I like the operations mode, I think that's a nice touch. I've actually been playing that more than Rush or Conquest. And I'm not sure if there is or not, but I'm hoping there might be a hardcore operations mode where it's a bit more realistic in terms of bullet damage and things, but I don't think there is. I know that there's a hardcore Rush and Conquest mode, but maybe not an operations one, but perhaps there is. I've not really delved into it yet. But I think the other thing I like is enemies do tend to take, generally speaking, people don't really take that many bullets to down, so you can, quite often I'm landing one-shot kills with the sniper rifle, and it's not like previous Battlefield games where it takes about 2 or 3 hits. I think it's probably 1 or 2 max usually, which I think is fantastic. I think they've got that spot on here. It just feels about right, because you can still sometimes survive a kind of bit of combat, but you can run away with 10 HP or something, but most of the time if an enemy fires at you, you're probably going to die, which I think is exactly what I wanted. And I haven't seen much of what I saw in the beta. I think they've kind of ironed things out in terms of bullet damage and all that stuff, particularly with the cavalry class. But to be fair, I've not really seen many of those in the full game. They don't seem to be as prominent. Maps seem great, which are very immersive, and I was hoping for a kind of SOM style level or something like that. I've not seen a SOM level, but I guess most of them compare, they look similar to what you'd expect from a World War One kind of war zone. Weapon customization, I've got to say, it's very good. It's just exactly right. It's not too over the top, but you don't need to wait till crazy levels of unlock before you can start playing around. You can pretty much dive in straight away and start changing your scope and your magnifications and all that stuff, and I like all that. I'm not going to mess around in this game with going over the top with customizing, because you actually get pretty good guns to begin with. I still think DICE perhaps didn't quite get the authenticity even correct when it comes to the different countries and what guns they start off with. I don't like seeing Germans in Mark 1 battle tanks, and I don't like seeing Allied forces, Brits and Americans driving around in A7Vs. I think that's just silly. and I know it's probably just playtesting balance issues, but I didn't really like that. I still don't like it, but yeah, it's a minor thing. I think I get quite a nice kill here if I remember right, so I'm just lining up some shots here. I think I've got a few kills in this footage that you've been watching. I can't really. I'm landing lots of assists, and sometimes assists count as kills now, which I think is good. I'm not sure if that's a new feature or not. But yeah, something comes up here if I remember right. I land quite a nice pistol headshot. Looked like somebody threw a load of grenades out of an aircraft there, I'm not entirely sure. So yeah, I think it's coming up. I think the old Colt 1911 got whipped out. It's like a 95 assist though I got on that guy. So I always find that frustrating in Battlefield games, but there you go. It counted as a kill, so that's great. And this is, I only really played a 64 player servers because I think it's what you want from this kind of game. Here we go. Good night, bang. I just like that nice sweet hip fire pistol headshot. Felt good, that did. So anyway, that's just a bit of the multiplayer. Just in terms of single player, I must say I'm not quite as impressed by the single player. I think a lot of people seem to think that the single player was actually really good and better than they'd expected, and quite honestly from what I've seen of it so far, it just feels like generic linear FPS single player action to me really. It's don't get me wrong, it's not bad, and I do intend to play through it. I've played 3 of the 5 levels so far, or 6. I played the first one, which is basically it's like an intro. It doesn't really feel like a proper level. That I quite like the way that when you died you spawned in as another soldier, and I thought actually that's a really nice mechanic, but it turns out that they don't use that in other levels. It's only in the first level where they do that, and really it's just used as a way to kind of introduce the game really. It's not actually a mechanic at all. I was a little bit disappointed by that, to be honest. I think they missed a treat there. But I played the tank level in the Mark 1. Brilliant to begin with, but I felt it lost its way near the last third of that level. It started to become one-man army, go into a village and stealthily sneak around trying to steal parts and all that kind of thing. I just thought, oh no, this feels like Medal of Honor territory from back in the day to me. Didn't really like that. I just wanted the World War I campaign to be all about big battles where you're just a small cog in the machine, but there's too much one-man army. You are at the sort of forefront of the attack and everything relies on you type stuff, and I just think it's old-fashioned, and they need to move away from that mechanic in FPS games. It's just tired and stale. I always think less is more in games. That's my philosophy really. If less is done well, that's better than more being just crazy and linear. But anyway, I also played the Gallipoli level, which I thought was just pretty basic and not very memorable, to be honest. I've seen that done far better in other games. Just not brilliant, and also quite easy as well, just in terms of the actual. I mean, I did it on normal mode, to be fair. I could probably stick that up to hards, but I got a bit impatient with it actually, and I just started running through the level, and I didn't even bother getting involved in gunfights. I just ran straight to the objective, and which is the castle. Just got there, and then there was a cutscene. Cutscenes are good, and then basically it was one-man army for about three levels. Not really the kind of thing I don't think it's very good. I'm not. I wouldn't give the single player a particularly good rating, but the multiplayer seems absolutely brilliant. So yeah, I think this is one to recommend. I think I'm going to be playing this a lot over the next month or two. Not really intending to buy anything else right now, so I'm quite happy with my purchase, particularly because I got it quite cheap. And I feel sorry for people that bought this on day one, to be honest, because I was shocked because I'm in the UK, so it's priced in pounds, and it was £50 on the digital store the week it came out, and I couldn't quite justify it. Then there was this crazy discount for, I don't know, 3 or 4 days. I guess it was a Black Friday discount. I'm not sure quite what it was. And I ended up picking it up for, it was about £36 in the end, which is fine. I'm happy to pay that. I'll pay that every day, well, within reason. But yeah, anyway, so Battlefield 1, I think it's a good game, and I will play the other single player levels I've not played yet. I like the sound of the aircraft one, where you're going around in a Sopwith Camel, I'm guessing. And maybe I'll give them all a go eventually, but I'm just not that impressed by it, what I've seen so far. So there you go. I'd give this game, I'm not one to do ratings, but I'd give this game a solid 4 stars out of 5. I don't know, something like that. 8 out of 10, whatever. It's a good game.